Good morning. So the eclipse portal has closed, and I think many of us are beginning to feel a massive shift that took place. I can say I slept last night for the first time in weeks, where I felt that my dreams were not so vivid and crazy and keeping me awake all night. I was not up in the middle of the night. I slept. I woke up feeling rested and full of ideas. And the universe started sending all kinds of information my way, when I was on Facebook or just sitting and thinking and journaling this morning. And a couple big things popped up for me that I wanted to share with you today. One, we talk an awful lot, especially lately, as the whole world is shifting. And all of this dark stuff and this negative stuff and really scary stuff that we haven't wanted to look at is coming up to the surface, individually and collectively. And we're talking a lot about trauma and the layers of programming we each have. But one conversation we're not having so much, which really kind of was in my face this morning, is the blessings that our ancestors gave us. They didn't just pass down their inherited trauma or the choices that they made or things they didn't finish. They also passed down blessings and gifts. And with that also comes the whisper, sometimes it's a shout or a scream, that we do not have to be the same as every single person we are in relationship with. And when I talk about relationship, I'm not just talking about your spouse or your partner. It could be your children, your family members, your friends, your community, your teachers, whoever you are in contact with. You're having a relationship with each of those individuals, okay? But society has programmed us for so long, especially in certain cultures. I've seen it so much in Europe because of a lot of programming and war trauma that was never processed. Everybody's got to be the same. There's a lot of shame and blame and negativity, especially. We've seen this around the world the last year, where if you are not conforming, if you are trying to stand in your sovereign light and be different, people don't like that. But it is so important that now, especially right now, we who are different, and those of you who know you're different, but you've been afraid to kind of stand out, speak out, be a little bit more of you, shine more of your light, it's time for us to do this, to increase the light we've been, to speak more of our truth, to be the more different we are here to be. It doesn't matter if your husband thinks you're an embarrassment and too different because you're not a clone like everybody else that he knows or she knows, if it's your husband that's completely different. It doesn't matter if your parents think that you are the strange child, which is how one of mine described me a few years ago to somebody close to me. It doesn't matter if your kids or your best friend thinks you're a freak. Shine your light. You are so needed. You came here for a reason, and you are the only one who can do the job that you were here to do. So let's talk about being different. A lot of people, a lot of families, especially if you're watching this from America, but even if you're watching it from Europe, there's been a lot of migration. We have migration and immigration. And if you look at your family histories, you will see that some of these people maybe migrated a short distance. Some of them completely left their country of origin and moved somewhere else, whether it was to America, South America, anywhere, doesn't matter. While other family members stayed behind. Everybody had their reasons, but the ones that were being different said, you know what, I can no longer live like this for whatever reason was happening in that historical time period in which they were living. They chose to be different, speak out, and go. Maybe they went as a whole family. Maybe they went as one individual at a time until they could bring everybody else over. But they did it. They were different. They stood out. When we look at World War II, which I've studied for more than 10 years, and looked at choices people made, we have a lot of people being different in regards to the war. And we'll just focus today on the family that's left behind. Okay? Some of those family members may have chosen to stand up, speak out against what was happening, try and wake people up around them, try and get them involved in a cause, go buy the war bond, plant your victory garden in Europe, join the resistance, save a neighbor that's getting ready to be shipped out, hide somebody so that they're not going into German forced labor. Whatever it was, those people were being different. After the war, and I don't know how we would even study this, those people that did that, did they process that? And did some of those gifts get passed down through the generations of being different, speaking up, standing out? So, what other gifts might our ancestors have given us? Well, a lot of people got their faith from the ancestors. Whether it's religion that you believe in, or whether it's God or whoever you believe is that master force out there, or you're more spiritual and you believe in angels and guides and galactic forces and God, or the source, or whatever you want to call it, we inherited that. That is a gift. It can also be a burden, depending on what is happening within your specific religion or spirituality. I think no matter which one you believe, they've all got pros and cons. They've all got good things happening and some bad things happening. And, it's up to us to look at both and maybe choose the blessing or the good thing or the lesson that is coming out and moving forward. So you can look at your family's faith history. What did they pass on? What did they totally not buy into that was being programmed into them or shoved down their throats? Did they live in Europe, and were they forced to renounce their religion because of whoever was in charge that day? And what did they carry with them? And how does that sustain you now? There are so many different ways that we have been blessed by our ancestors. There are so many different ways we can stand out and be different. You might also look into your family history and say, okay, who were the writers? Who were the actors? Who were the people that were so full of drama that were different? Who are the politicians? And we have seen there are good and bad on every spectrum. Who were the ones that bought into the faith and chose a life of faith? Who are the ones that chose to be entrepreneurs or go out and create something that had never been created? Study those people. What were some of the choices that they had to make in their lives? Did they leave the family because they knew if they stayed within that group, which might have dimmed their light and made it impossible for them to go and be who they were supposed to be? Did they choose that? Did they stay there? Were they still able to create within that atmosphere? Sometimes you are, sometimes you just have to go. So, what are the gifts that your ancestors have passed down? What are the lessons that they passed down? How did they handle certain events? I look at again with World War II, how did my in-laws that were in Europe handle the war? Two very different scenarios, two very different ways of handling things, two very different sets of choices when the war ended. And some of that was based on where they lived. But what can we learn from that? What are the gifts that we can take away from that? These are all things I invite you to sit with. And I invite you to remember you are different. You came here for a reason. You are the only person who can complete the mission that you chose for this life, no matter what anyone else says. And I know it can be really scary to go off and be on your own and to be alone. But being alone is one of the greatest lessons that we can learn. How can we be comfortable within ourselves, find peace, and be by ourselves as we wait while the universe rearranges everything and everybody in our lives, and we're waiting for those new people to show up as the old people, where their purpose is done, are departing. So I invite you to sit with this. If you are being different, or you are just stepping into your light and voice and being different now, I'd love to hear how you're doing that. What's it been like for you? Has it been scary? Has it been good? What's come up for you? Please share in the comments wherever you're watching this. And I can't wait to release some new content for you very soon to help you become more different and step more into your light.